Hey, what's going on, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time today to hang out with me. I really appreciate it. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about EDH Cards Under $1, Part 12. I really love these videos. It's really fun to find good cards on a budget. And some of these are really cool because I think sometimes when people think budget cards, they immediately think like lower power level decks. And sure, sometimes those things do go hand in hand, but other times there can be incredibly powerful cards that are super cheap, which is awesome. We all love a good budget. We all love a good deal. So, yeah, anyways, without further ado, let's just hop into it. I can't believe we're on part 12. This is insane. I already have parts 13 planned out, I think, as well. And then I think I stopped it there, but I'll always do more because they're so fun. Okay, cool. The first card I want to talk about is, this is one of those cards that I just like don't understand why it's like not a little bit more expensive, and that is Judith the Scourge Diva. First off, I just really want to appreciate the fact that there's a magic card with the word Diva in the title. Does anyone else just find that hilarious? Maybe it's just me. I don't know why. I just genuinely think that's like absolutely hilarious. I can't. So I feel like black red sometimes just like gets thrown under the bus, and I feel like not a lot of people like talk about that color combination, and I don't know. I really like it. I think there's some really cool cards in there, and this card is really awesome. You can run this card as your commander, or you could run it in your decks. Honestly, you could run this in, I think, a lot of different things as well, like, because it just says other creatures you control get +1/+0, which is great. She's also 3 mana for a 2/2, which is awesome. So if you're playing her as your commander, she's super cheap, which is great. Love that ability that buffs your entire team. She's not included, just say other, so just something to note. And she also says whenever another non-token creature you control dies, it deals 1 damage to any target, which is super awesome. I feel like you could do a lot of really fun stuff with this card, like a lot of really cool, like whenever creatures die, they get this trigger or something like that. And your whole team gets buffed, which is really cool. It does say non-tokens, so I'd be wary to play this in things that, you know, have like tokens, but I think if you're playing non-tokens, she's super, super cool, and she's cheap, which is the best. So yeah, great card. Okay, the next card I want to talk about is Kaya's Wrath. I'm kind of like obsessed with board wipes, so every time I get to talk about board wipes, I get really excited, and every time I get to talk about cheap board wipes, it makes my heart so happy. This card is really cool. So it is double white, double black, so I think like that might be a little bit on like the trickier side to cast, but I think if you're playing Orzhov, this is a really solid inclusion in this deck. It is a sorcery, just does say destroy all creatures, so it's just something to note. They are going to be your creatures as well, but my whole philosophy on like board wipes is like, if you're blowing up the board, there's a really good chance that whatever your opponents have is just better than whatever you have, so it's better just to get rid of all their creatures, even if it does include, you know, targeting your stuff as well. You do gain life equal to the number of creatures you controlled that were destroyed this way. I think a lot of people really misread this card and don't 100% like I think a lot of people think that it's all creatures. It just says creatures you control. So if you're playing like Orzhov tokens or something like that, and you've got like a ton of dudes, you could gain like a solid amount of life. However, I think that's don't get me wrong, that's a great card. That's a great aspect about this card, but I still think the fact that it's 4 mana destroy all creatures, which is great, and you got a little bit of life gain, which I like. So I think this card is really strong. I like it a lot. Okay, let's next talk about Bone Splinters. I feel like this card is so incredibly underutilized and so incredibly powerful. So it does say you have to sack a creature, and that's a part of the cost. So like, if someone goes to target your creature, for example, like destroy your creature before you can do this, you don't get this effect. However, it's only 1 mana, so I think like that's kind of like the trade-off, but then you get to destroy target creature. I really like this card. I think it's cool if you're playing multiple, if you're playing like whenever you're like, I guess sort of like graveyard stuff where you want creatures to die, or like whenever this creature dies you get to do X or something like that, which I think is cool. Bone Splinters is a really good card to synergize with that, and it's only 1 mana, which is so incredibly good. So yeah, Bone Splinters is a great card. Okay, let's talk about Lingering Souls. I just like, do you ever just look at cards and you're like, that's cute? Like, that's how I feel about Lingering Souls. It's just such a cute card. Like, it's basic. There's really not a whole lot to say. For 3 mana, you get 2 dudes, and then you can flash it back for 2 to get another 2 dudes. And they have flying, which is cool. And you can get the, like, F&M promo, and it is, I think it's, like, definitely under $1 as well. So if you like foils, you know, which you should. You should like foils. No, I love foils. So, yeah, no, Lingering Souls is a really cool card. I like it a lot. It's cute. It's cute. It gives you tokens. I like it. Okay. Oh my gosh. This card is so incredibly awesome. That is Fierce Empath. So, long time ago, I had this mono green Yisan commander deck. And I don't actually think that I ever filmed a deck tech on it because I think it was before I was making videos on YouTube. And Fierce Empath was one of like those cards that I ran, and I just like haven't had anything to put it in, but I want to run this card so badly because it's so good. It's 3 mana. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost 6 or greater, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. This is kind of like, I don't know what it is, but for some reason, like green 3 mana creatures are just like my favorite. Like, can we just talk about that? Like, seriously. Courser, Crucifix, you got Eternal Witness. Like, come on. Fierce Empath, like, this card is so incredibly good. If you're playing big, dumb stuff. But, like, here's my thing, is even if you don't have to play, like, a ton of big, dumb stuff. You know what I mean? Like, if you're playing, like, 8, 10 things, I would definitely run this card, because why not? It tutors for a thing. You're left with the 1/1. You got a great chump blocker or an attacker, whatever. Depends on the circumstances and where you're at. But, like, this card's just really cool. I like it. I think this card's really awesome. Okay. The next card is, I'm going to try to say this. I think it's Dakmor Salvage. I don't know. That's, like, the strange name. But anyways, this card is really cool. So it enters the battlefield tapped, and then you get to tap to add 1 black to your pool. And then you have Dredge 2, which I really like. I remember when I like first discovered this card, and I was like, oh my gosh, this in graveyard recursion decks is so incredibly cool. So one thing I like about the Dredge mechanic as well is it's a May ability. So you don't have to. If you want to draw that card for whatever reason, you can do that. But you could also mill those 2 and put them into your graveyard. Yeah, I think it's really cool. I like this card a lot. I think like graveyard decks, I think like this is great in like a mono black deck, but I also think this could totally work in like Marin type decks. Like I run this in Tasigur. Like, no, actually, do I have this in Tasigur? I don't actually know about that. If you ran Tasigur, you could totally run this in there as well. And I think this card would be really good. But yeah, I like this card. I think it's really good. Yeah. Okay. The next card I want to talk about is Village Rites. This card is so cool. I like it. It's 1 mana at instant speed. You sack a creature, again, very similar to what I was saying before in the sense of like, get rid of your thing, that whenever it dies, you do a thing, which is awesome. It's at instant speed, and then you get to draw 2 cards. I feel like some of these cards are just like, oh, it's like, you gotta pay the price, like, you gotta sacrifice a creature, and it's like, yeah, I'll just sack my Solemn Simulacrum, like, okay, and then I'll draw a card, and then I get to draw 2 cards off of this, like, 3 cards off my Solemn Simulacrum dying, like, okay. So, yeah, this card's cool. I like it. Okay, the next card is Debt to the Deathless, and, like, gosh, I don't know. There's just something about this card. You ever have, like, cards that you're just like, I don't know. It's just, I really enjoy this card. I run this in, Teysa. I've never actually cast it in Teysa, but I've definitely cast this card before. Back in the day when I had Obsidian. Wow, that was such a long time ago. Man, reminiscing on, like, the Commander graveyard. Maybe I should do a video that's, like, on all the commanders that I, like, don't play anymore. That'd be kind of interesting, and, like, why I took them apart. That's actually a really good idea. I'll film it for you guys. I think that'd be really cool. But anyways, so yeah, Debt to the Deathless is a cool card. It says each opponent loses 2 times X. 2 times X. So whatever you do, you multiply by 2, which is great. And then you gain life. So not only do you get to have your opponents lose life, but you can gain life as well, which is really cool. I think like the best case scenario with Debt to the Deathless is you get to do it and you just win, which is really cool. Super, super, super great mid-range card, particularly the later stages of the game, because if you do like Debt to the Deathless for 5, well then you multiply it by 2 and then you do it for 10. And so everybody loses 10 and you gain, if you've got like 3 opponents, you just casually gain 30 life. So don't get me wrong, it's a lot of mana, but again, that's why it's like this perfect like end game card, which is really cool. So I like it. Okay, the next card is Watcher of the Spheres, and this card was only printed, I believe, in Core Set 2021, and this card's cool. So it says creature spells with flying you cast cost 1 less to cast, so I think if you're playing a flying deck, either a Orzhov, like, flying deck or something like that, or you just have that color combination, you're playing a ton of flyers, I think this card's solid. It's also got flying on top of that. And then it says whenever another creature with flying enters the battlefield, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. I feel like that second ability is not as it's fine. Like, you could definitely get places with this card and make it a little bit bigger, but I think this is a really good early game card. Like, I think if you're just playing, like, flyers, this is a really good inclusion, and it's so incredibly cheap. Why not? It's great. And the last card, oh, I love this card so much, is Tithe. Did I say that right? Tithe Taker, I think. This card is so cool. Okay, y'all know I love Death and Nexus cards. I love them. So it says during your turn, so it's only during your turn. Spells your opponent's cast cost 1 more to cast, and abilities, they cost 1 more to cast, unless they're mana abilities, which is really cool. I like this. I love Death and Taxes types of cards, you guys know, and it's also got Afterlife 1, which is really cool. I like that little bit of thing. I just think this card, like, for the amount of mana that you're putting into this card, like, I think it's just really good. You know what I mean? Like, you're paying 2 mana to get a 2/1. And then when it dies, you get a 1/1. So by the way, like, this card with, like, things where it triggers twice, like aka like Tesa, great card. And you put that little bit of pressure on your opponents to, like, not cast stuff during your turn, which is really cool. So yeah, I'm a huge fan. I think this card is really cool. And if you're looking for more, like, budget D&T cards, this is a great one to include. So yeah. Guys, that was everything. That was everything talking about 10 additional cards that are under $1. I'd really like to know what cards are some of your favorites that are under $1, especially those ones that not a lot of people know about or not a lot of people run, which I think is really fun to chat about. So if you like this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I'll catch you in my next one.